If you're in your 60 or older, and there's something you do every night that might seem harmless, maybe even comforting, but could be quietly putting your brain at risk. You go to bed, you fall asleep, and while you're resting peacefully, unaware, your body begins to shift into a state of vulnerability. No chest pain, no dizziness, no warning signs. But by morning, something feels wrong. Your arm feels heavy. Your words won't come out right. Or worse, you can't get up at all. What happened? A silent stroke, one that struck while you were sleeping, and the cause may not be what you expect. I'm not talking about diet or lack of exercise. I'm talking about your sleeping posture, your pillow position, your nighttime blood pressure, and a series of small but dangerous habits that go completely unnoticed until they don't. As a neurologist, I've watched too many seniors suffer the consequences of these overlooked risks, and the saddest part, most of them had no idea their bedtime routine was contributing to their stroke risk. Not once. Not ever. In this video, I'll share with you 9 of the most common sleeping mistakes that could be interfering with blood flow to the brain, placing excess pressure on key arteries, or triggering nighttime blood pressure surges right when your brain is least prepared to handle them. These aren't extreme changes or medical emergencies. They're small shifts, repeated night after night, that wear down your protection. If you care about your independence, your memory, and your ability to wake up each day feeling clear and in control, then what you learn here could be life-changing. Before we get started, take 1 second to subscribe and tap the notification bell so you never miss another video built just for your health after 60. And if this topic already feels relevant to you or someone you care about, type 1 in the comments. If not, type 0 to help me improve what I bring you next. Now, let's talk about the one place where your stroke risk may be quietly building your bed. 1. Frequent tossing and turning. Poor sleep quality. Frequent tossing and turning is something many older adults shrug off as normal. A side effect of aging, a sore hip, or the need to get up for the bathroom. But what if that restlessness is more than inconvenience? What if it is your brain sending warning signals? What if those nightly shifts are quietly altering your blood flow and increasing your risk of stroke? Sleep is not a passive state. It is the time when your brain recalibrates, restores blood flow, and removes waste. But when your sleep is fragmented by constant movement, those essential processes are disrupted. In a younger body, the system compensates. But in older adults, where arteries have stiffened, veins narrowed, and the brain is already working harder to maintain balance, each turn in bed can lead to temporary reductions in circulation. That might not sound dangerous, but repeated hundreds of times a night, it becomes a serious risk, especially when combined with low hydration, low oxygen levels, or underlying blood pressure issues. Let me tell you about Nancy Delgado, a 76-year-old retired piano teacher. For months, she thought she was sleeping fine, 7 hours in bed, every night. But she woke up tired, foggy, sometimes with headaches. Her husband noticed she tossed and turned constantly, shifting positions every few minutes. Then came the day her hand went numb and her words slurred. She had suffered a small ischemic stroke. Hours before she woke, tests revealed no major heart condition or cholesterol issues. But her sleep study told the story she had intermittent hypoperfusion. Her brain was not getting steady blood flow during the night. Each turn in bed caused pressure shifts, small circulation drops, and eventually blood pooled, thickened, and formed clots. This kind of interrupted sleep doesn't just leave you tired. It prevents blood pressure from lowering at night like it should. It keeps stress hormones high. It disrupts the brain's natural cleanup system, leading to inflammation. And worst of all, it fools you into thinking you've rested while your brain is struggling to stay alive. Your body sends signals, waking up drenched in sweat, heart racing, gasping, tingling in your hands, imbalance when you stand, a stiff neck that lingers. These are not normal signs of aging. They are whispers from a brain in distress, and ignoring them is dangerous. So what can you do? Treat your restlessness like a symptom. Avoid caffeine and alcohol in the evening. Use layered breathable bedding. Keep your room cool and your body well supported. A body pillow can stabilize your joints and prevent unconscious jerking. And most importantly, if your partner notices excessive movement or you wake frequently, ask your doctor about a sleep study. Nancy now sleeps with a soft cervical pillow and water by her bed. She stretches before sleep and practices deep breathing. Her stroke recovery is slow but steady. She told me, "I used to think waking up tired was just getting old. I didn't know it was a sign something worse was coming." She knows better now. And so do you? Because when sleep is broken, the brain remembers, but the next risk we will talk about doesn't happen during sleep. It starts right before, with a skipped pill, a missed dose, a forgotten routine, and that small decision may be all it takes to change your life forever. Let me explain what happens when you skip your blood pressure or heart medication before bed. 2. Sleeping after skipping blood pressure or heart medication. Skipping your blood pressure or heart medication before bed might not seem like a big deal. Maybe you're tired. Maybe you're out of pills. Maybe you just feel fine and assume one night won't hurt. But for older adults, that small choice could quietly become one of the most dangerous mistakes you ever make. Because while you sleep, your brain is at its most vulnerable, and without that tiny pill doing its job, the conditions for a stroke begin to build. Your blood pressure doesn't stay steady through the night. It follows a natural rhythm, dipping during deep sleep and rising again in the early morning hours. But if you have hypertension, atrial fibrillation, or any cardiovascular condition, your body cannot manage that rhythm on its own. That's why your medication is there, to keep your system stable while you rest. But when you skip your dose, especially at night, you're removing your body's only line of defense during those critical hours. Between 2 and 6 a.m., your blood pressure may surge. If your arteries are already narrowed or inflamed, the result is turbulent flow, blood pooling, and clot formation. One of those clots may not stay in place. It may break loose. And when it travels to your brain, it takes seconds to change your life forever. I want to tell you about Harold Green, a 72-year-old retired electrician who lived in Wisconsin. Harold was healthy. He walked every day, ate vegetables, watched his salt, and never smoked. His only issue was mild hypertension. managed with a single low-dose medication taken before bed. One night, during a football game, Harold forgot his pill. He realized it just before bed, but thought, "It's just one time. I'll take it tomorrow." But he didn't get that chance. The next morning, he couldn't speak. His wife found him at the breakfast table, one side of his face drooping, his mouth struggling to form words. At the hospital, doctors confirmed a moderate ischemic stroke. The clot had likely formed just before dawn when his blood pressure spiked without the protection of his nightly pill. Harold was stunned. One skipped dose. He said, "That's all it took." He now follows a strict medication routine. His wife sets alarms. He keeps a backup pill in a case by his bed. He told me in therapy, "That night cost me my voice. I won't let it take anything else." Here's the physiology. Blood pressure medication eases the stress on your vessels and helps keep platelets from clumping together. When you skip it, pressure rises. The walls of your arteries become irritated. Clotting increases. And if your blood is already thicker from age, dehydration, or other meds, the risk multiplies. Add to that the fact that many older adults are on multiple prescriptions beta blockers, calcium channel blockers, ACE inhibitors, blood thinners, and the margin for error shrinks even further. The stroke risk isn't cumulative over weeks. It can spike in one night, one skipped pill, one bad morning. If you take medication to manage your heart or blood pressure, consistency is everything. Set phone reminders. Ask your spouse or caregiver to double check. Keep an emergency dose near your bed in case you forget. At this stage in life, your brain relies on rhythm more than you think. And it remembers every night you failed to protect it. Because the truth is, most sleep-related strokes in seniors are preventable. Not with more scans, not with more appointments, but with consistency. Your health isn't just built by what you do most days. It's protected by what you don't forget to do, even once. But what if the threat isn't inside you at all? What if it's something as simple as the air in your room, the temperature on your skin, or the lack of support beneath your neck? Because cold air and poor sleep posture can do more damage than most people realize. Let me show you what happens when your neck is exposed and your brain is left unprotected while you sleep. 3. Sleeping in cold rooms without proper neck support. Sleeping in a cold room might seem harmless or even healthy. That crisp air, the cozy blanket, the sense of freshness as you drift off, it feels good. Many older adults lower the thermostat at night or crack open a window, thinking it helps with sleep or saves energy. But what most people don't realize is that for seniors, sleeping in a cold environment without proper neck support can quietly disrupt circulation to the brain and increase the risk of stroke. You don't feel it. You don't notice it. But your brain does. As we age, our bodies lose their ability to regulate temperature efficiently. Cold air causes the blood vessels in the body, especially in the neck, to constrict. This narrowing of the vessels, known as vasoconstriction, reduces the flow of oxygen-rich blood to the brain. Now combine that with a poorly supported neck, your head tilted too far forward, twisted to one side, or resting too low on a soft pillow, and you've got a recipe for restricted circulation. The vertebral and carotid arteries, which are responsible for delivering oxygen to the brain, are especially vulnerable to compression when the neck is unsupported or misaligned. If you're sleeping with your chin tucked or your head dropped, the effect becomes even worse. Let me tell you about Miss Loretta Dixon. A 8-year-old retired nurse from Montana, Loretta loved the cold. She always said fresh air helped her sleep. She would open her window a crack, even in the middle of winter, and she slept curled up with a flat pillow under her head, her neck slightly bent forward. For years, she thought nothing of it. Then one morning, her son came to check on her and found her unable to sit up or speak clearly. At the hospital, scans showed she had suffered a brainstem stroke. This type of stroke, caused by a clot in the posterior circulation, affects the area supplied by the vertebral arteries, those same arteries that run along the neck and into the brain. Loretta had no major risk factors. She took her medications, she didn't smoke, her heart was strong, but what she did have was years of reduced blood flow to her brain during the hours when her body was supposed to be resting and healing. Cold air had constricted her arteries. Her sleep position had compressed them further, and in the early morning, as her blood pressure naturally rose, a clot broke loose and changed everything. She now walks with assistance, has trouble swallowing, and works every day in therapy to recover. And she told me with tears in her eyes, "I never knew something that felt so normal could be that dangerous." The science behind it is clear. Cold constricts blood vessels. Poor neck support misaligns them. Aging bodies already struggle with slower circulation and stiffer arteries. When you add in nighttime dehydration and natural blood pressure spikes that occur during REM sleep, the brain becomes especially vulnerable. Most seniors also have some degree of cervical spine degeneration. This makes it even more important to support the neck properly. Sleeping in a cold room with a poorly aligned neck isn't just uncomfortable. It reduces the flow of oxygen to the brain and can contribute to the slow, silent formation of blood clots. So what can you do? Keep your bedroom cool, but not cold. Aim for a room temperature between 65 and 68 degrees Fahrenheit. Use a pillow that keeps your neck in a neutral position, aligned with your spine. Avoid letting your chin drop toward your chest or turning your head sharply to one side. Choose breathable bedding that keeps you warm without overheating. These are not just sleep tips. They are brain protection strategies. Loretta's story is one of many. Every night, 2 seniors go to bed believing they're doing everything right. But the aging body plays by new rules, and the habits that once felt safe may now carry serious risk. And while sleeping in the cold with poor neck support can quietly restrict blood flow, there's one final nighttime habit that may be even more dangerous. One that starts in the kitchen, not the bedroom. Let me show you what happens when you go to bed with a full stomach or a glass too many, and how late-night digestion could become the silent trigger that puts everything at risk. 4. Sleeping immediately after heavy drinking or big meal. There is a quiet mistake many older adults make every night without even realizing the damage it may cause: going to bed right after a large dinner or a glass of alcohol. It feels comforting, familiar. A full belly makes you feel sleepy. A nightcap seems to ease tension, and for many, this becomes a daily routine. But what most people don't know is that this habit can quietly set the stage for a stroke in the middle of the night. Not because of pain or pressure, but because of how the aging body processes food and alcohol differently. As we get older, our digestive system slows down, It takes longer to break down meals. Blood flow shifts to support the gut. And during that time, the brain gets less oxygen. This effect is especially strong after high-fat or high-sodium meals. Now add alcohol, even just 1 glass. Alcohol first expands your blood vessels, making you feel relaxed. But a few hours later, as your body processes it, those same vessels constrict. Blood pressure spikes. The heart becomes more reactive. In people with stiffened arteries or slower circulation, this sudden swing is dangerous. It increases the risk of a clot forming and moving toward the brain while you sleep. Let me tell you about Mr. Gerald Thompson, a 74-year-old retired farmer from Nebraska, a strong man with steady habits. Dina at 7. I'll drink at 8. Bed by 8:30. One winter evening, he enjoyed a big family meal. Turkey, stuffing, mashed potatoes, pecan pie, and his usual glass of bourbon. Had felt full, happy, and dozed off early. But around 4 in the morning, his wife woke to find him cold and unresponsive. He was rushed to the hospital. Doctors discovered a large ischemic stroke in the left side of his brain. Gerald had no atrial fibrillation, no missed medication, but his blood showed signs of recent dehydration, elevated triglycerides, and post-alcohol vasoconstriction. The stroke likely formed in the early morning hours due to a combination of slowed digestion, blood thickening, and unstable pressure caused by alcohol rebound. Gerald survived, but he can no longer speak clearly. He uses a wheelchair. His wife now helps him with daily tasks. She once told me, "We thought we were doing everything right. We just didn't know." This isn't an isolated case. Eating too late and drinking before bed both pull blood flow away from the brain and into the digestive system. They disrupt the body's natural ability to regulate pressure during sleep. And they interfere with the cleansing process the brain relies on to stay sharp and healthy. Alcohol also reduces REM sleep and lowers oxygen levels. Combined, these effects increase the chance of blood pooling in narrowed vessels and forming clots. The risk becomes even higher during the early morning cortisol surge when most strokes occur. So what can you do? Instead of cutting out everything you enjoy, shift the timing. If you plan to eat a full meal, do it at least 2 to 3 hours before lying down. If you drink alcohol, have it earlier in the afternoon, not late at night. Avoid high sodium, greasy, or sugary foods at dinner. Choose hydration. Water helps keep blood viscosity lower. And if you're tired after eating, sit upright in a chair. Let digestion begin before you lie flat. These small adjustments may not seem urgent, but in the aging body, they can mean the difference between a peaceful night and a morning that changes everything. Because stroke doesn't always announce itself, sometimes it arrives in silence, in the softness of a pillow, after a meal, while you sleep, but now you know the risk, and that knowledge is power. It gives you a choice to keep doing what's familiar or to do what protects you, because comfort is good, but not if it costs you your speech, your balance, your independence. Now that we've gone through the 9 most dangerous sleeping habits for stroke risk, let's take one final step. I want to show you what safe sleep actually looks like. What habits you can adopt starting tonight to protect your brain while you rest Because real prevention begins not with fear, but with small, powerful choices. And those choices start now. Final wake-up call. Sleep is not just rest. It is protection. The hours you spend in bed are not passive. They are active. Your brain is working, repairing, balancing, resetting, and depending on how you sleep, it is either healing or quietly heading toward harm. If you have stayed with me this far, it means you care. You understand that true health is not just about medications or doctor visits, but about the simple decisions you make every single day and night, especially at this stage in life. Those decisions carry more weight. They shape the quality of your days and the future of your independence. Over the past few minutes, we have walked through habits that seem harmless, sleeping flat with no pillow, turning onto your stomach, resting in a recliner, covering your head with a blanket, tucking your arm beneath your pillow, tossing, turning, skipping medicine, sleeping cold, drinking late, eating late. Each of these habits seems small. Each of them feels familiar, but together they build risk, not overnight, but slowly, quietly. They reduce circulation, they limit oxygen, they allow blood to stagnate, to thicken, to clot, and in an aging body with stiffened arteries and slower recovery, that clot is all it takes. One clot, one night, one irreversible moment, and yet most sleep-related strokes are preventable. Let that sink in. Most of them do not have to happen. They are not just fate. They are not just genetics. They are often caused by conditions we create unknowingly. That means they can be undone. That means you have power, and not just the power to avoid harm, but the power to protect, to support, to restore, because sleep is also a time of immense potential. It is when your brain clears waste, resets hormones, recalibrates blood pressure, and builds memory. But only if you allow it to, only if the environment, the position, and the conditions are right. So, how do you begin tonight? Elevate your head slightly. Support your neck with a pillow that matches your spine. Sleep on your left side when you can. Keep your arms relaxed, not pinned. Avoid blankets that trap air or restrict breathing. Skip alcohol. Hydrate with water. Take your medications as prescribed. And above all, create a space that allows your body to heal. A quiet room. A dark space. A supportive surface. These are not luxuries. They are requirements, because the way you sleep is not just a routine. It is your most consistent act of self-care. It is the one thing you do every day, without exception. That means it is also your greatest opportunity to make a lasting difference in your health. This is not about perfection. It is about awareness. It is about intention. It is about the difference between sleeping for comfort and sleeping for survival. And that difference can change everything: your words, your balance, your independence, your life. So tonight, as you lay your head down, do so with wisdom, with the quiet strength that comes from knowing that how you sleep matters more than you ever realized. Because when you protect your sleep, you protect everything. You protect the parts of you that matter most, and that is always worth it.